Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron. Let's get lost together as we cover today the Overwatch Iceberg. For returning viewers and subscribers, you may know I've made a video similar to this in the past. But in the past 4 years, a lot more can be added to the iceberg, as well as me having different thoughts and opinions on the original video. Thank you again for clicking on this video. If you enjoy liking the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. But without further ado, welcome to the Overwatch Iceberg. Cancelled PvE. Cancelled PvE refers to the cancellation of what was supposed to be the story mode of Overwatch 2, a mode that was going to allow multiple characters to be played with RPG elements of skill trees and abilities that you can unlock and use during your playtime. This was marketed as the main feature and the main mode for Overwatch 2, also the reason why Blizzard launched Overwatch 2. For those that know now, this actually never ended up happening or coming to fruition, and the developers cut the mode, souring the taste of the fans who waited so long for such a cool concept. Although they have taken parts of the mode and put into other areas, like the perk system in multiplayer and the stadium mode, what was once a cool sounding concept is now forgotten in time, and we will probably never get to experience it. Push, Flashpoint, and Clash. Push, Flashpoint, and Clash were all new modes added with Overwatch 2, with Push being the cool new mode added on release, while Flashpoint and Clash followed respectively in that order. Not really popular modes to begin with. The developers added these modes to spice up the gameplay, since 2 Capture Point was removed in the end of Overwatch 1. Highly debated whether these modes are good for competitive play or not. Clash is the only mode out of these 3 that doesn't appear in competitive anymore. While some might think they have a place in the game, they are simply not my style of gameplay or what I would consider fun, as well as I assume most of the community. Malga Meta. Malga Meta refers to the time when the hero Malga was released into the game in the winter of 2023. He was actually quite underwhelming on launch, so the development team overtuned him before going on their holiday break, which meant, you guessed it, Malga steamrolling everyone and ruining every game for the next month. Every game was a Malga versus Malga mirror matchup. One of the worst times to play Overwatch in my opinion. It didn't help that his playstyle was very dull too. Stand and shoot tank simulator ran Overwatch for the next 4 weeks, capping off the most boring Overwatch meta in history, in my opinion. Sojourn on release. Sojourn is one of 3 characters that was released with the launch of Overwatch 2. She's a very versatile character with a very high skill ceiling and a mid-tier skill floor. To get value, you have to be really good with her. What made her really good, you ask? Her railgun. She could wipe any team by herself if you had the right mechanical skill with her. She dominated rank play and had almost a 100% pick rate in the Overwatch League. Although she had been tuned down in the past, she still stands today as one of the best characters in the entire game. This begs the question, will we see another character as dominant as her in the future of Overwatch? 5v5. 5v5 is the new standard of Overwatch that was launched with the rebranding of Overwatch 2. 5v5 offers quicker, more versatile gameplay, as well as quicker teamfights and more opportunities to take over individually. Characters move faster, everyone for the most part has movement abilities, and the game now feels more movement-centric and mechanical skill heavy than what Overwatch 1 did with the grit and grind playstyle with all the shields and 2 healers pumping tons of resources into 2 tanks. While having 1 tank is controversial amongst the community, some people actually enjoy this addition to the game, and it definitely has its place. So what do you think? Do you enjoy 5v5? Overwatch record play count in 2026. In the winter of 2026, Overwatch reached one of its highest concurrent player counts with the release of Overwatch vs. Talon. This update added 5 new heroes that blend the new gameplay of Overwatch perfectly into the game that we all know and love. This is a perfect setup to see if Overwatch can retain this player count with future updates and good quality of life patches. This is such a great time to get into Overwatch, if you're a new player or a returning player. Level 2. Torbjorn's original turret. Torb's turret back in 2016 worked a lot differently than how it does today. You used to collect scrap from around the map and off eliminated enemies to build resources to increase your next level of your turret. In fact, it also had a level 3, since the previous 2 forms had semi-automatic fire and automatic fire respectively. But once you reach level 3, it turned into a homing missile launcher as well as a machine gun at the same time. This, of course, made Torbjorn very effective. It wasn't long before the developers went back and changed it and reworked Torbjorn to how we know him today. Goats meta. Goats meta was created in 2018 by a competitive contenders team called Goats. Around this time, there was no fixed role queue, so you could play as many of the same role as you wanted. And then they rolled out the controversial 3 tanks and 3 support meta that comprised of D.Va, Reinhardt, and Zarya to pair along with the supports of Lucio, Moira, and Brigitte. This, of course, broke the competitive scene, but the casual scene too, which sent every person playing the game who wanted to be competitive playing this exact meta. There wasn't really any effective way of stopping it, unless you were mirror matching them and played the same competition. Many attributes to this why we have a fixed lock queue is because of this exact meta, and now that we have the 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 supports. Overwatch Cinematics. The Overwatch cinematic universe was booming from 2016 to 2019. They would release compelling, engaging stories in the form of beautifully crafted 3D animation. Each animation served a story for one of the many heroes on the Overwatch roster, and each cinematic had a happy, sad, and gut-wrenching all together in one story. But then around 2020, they stopped putting out the cinematics for a while. We ended up getting one back in 2022 for Kiriko, but after that we didn't see one until 2026 again, with the release of the new Talon update. DPS Doomfist. DPS Doomfist refers to the time when the current tank Doomfist was part of the DPS roster in Overwatch 1. His abilities were quite actually different. His power block we all know today used to be an uppercut, which worked in tandem perfectly with the power punch that he still has today. And the seismic slam that launches himself into the air and comes down for a ground pound used to scale with damage the longer that you were in the air, rewarding you from doing it from unique and pretty high places. Even though all the fun you can have with this character, he had his faults and he had his downsides. In fact, he was a buggy mess no matter how many patches and updates they put into him. So in 2022, with the release of Overwatch 2, Doomfist was relocated to the tank pool and has been there ever since. Let me ask you a question. Did you prefer Doomfist as a DPS or as the tank that he is in the current form? Junker Queen in Overwatch 1. Most people would say you're lying if you told them Junker Queen was in Overwatch 1, but it's a little muddy to tell you the complete truth. She physically is not in Overwatch 1, and only has a very small cameo from a voice line you can hear on Junkertown as you approach the first point on the main gate. Ever since then, we've been waiting for Junker Queen to join the roster, and finally she did, with the release of Overwatch 2 in 2022. Junkrat and Roadhog High Five. One of the most unique emotes in Overwatch requires the 2 best friends, Junkrat and Roadhog, to be together in the same game. If you both lock in your dance emote, while launched back in 2017 during the anniversary update, you could stand next to each other, then start the emote while looking in specific directions. They will obviously start dancing, and midway through their dance emote, they will reach out their hand and go for a high five. And if you position perfectly, you can achieve the high five, which I believe to this day is the only interactive emote that we have in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Level 3. Mercy's Original Ultimate Resurrection. Mercy's original ult, Resurrection, refers to a point in time in 2016 where Mercy's ultimate was, you guessed it, Resurrection. Resurrection functioned as an AoE ult where anyone that was within Mercy's AoE as she pressed the ultimate button would be resurrected from the dead, restarting any team fight that had just ended. For the opposing team, this would work against you, because if you wasted all your abilities and your ultimates in that previous team fight, now you have a full team coming back to fight you right away again. This obviously caused a lot of distress in the community, so the Blizzard development team in 2017 would rework Mercy and have her function in a different way that we will cover later in this Iceberg. Let me know, do you miss OG Mercy? Moth meta. Shortly following the rework to the original Mercy with Resurrection came the Moth meta, which granted her new ultimate ability, Valkyrie, which let her fly around the map at increased speeds, and you can heal your teammates from longer distances as long as they were in line of sight. With this new update, I should say, this new rework, Mercy's Resurrection was now binded to one of her abilities, which granted her 2, along with her new ultimate. Now, what was overpowered about this was you could res 2 people individually, and then if you popped your Valkyrie ult, it actually reset your cooldown on your Resurrection ability, which then lets you revive an extra person or 2. This obviously caused a lot of discomfort also, which then led to another Mercy rework a year or 2 down the line. C9. C9 is one of the worst ways you can lose in Overwatch. C9 is basically when the attacking team in an Overwatch game hops off the payload or point in the overtime stage and the clock runs out. This became famous in one of the Overwatch League games where the attacking team was pushing really close into the game to secure the win, and for some reason, they didn't have a person on cart and the game ended. This often results in one of the most saddening and humiliating losses that you can experience in Overwatch. Difficult Overwatch achievements. Some Overwatch achievements are difficult, and some of them are just out of this world hard to achieve, especially the ones from the original Overwatch 1 when the game launched. A few I could bring up to mind would be Zenyatta's Rapid Discord, Reaper's multiple kills in one clip without reloading, and the infamous The Floor is Lava Lucio achievement. There are plenty more that I could probably think of if you gave me the time, but these are just the ones that I could think of on the top of my head, and they're extremely hard to get. And now that the game's been out for some time, there have been a few more people that have unlocked it. But if you go look at the percentage to unlock ratio, it is really, really low. Do any of you have these achievements? Double Shield. One of the most notorious metas in Overwatch 1 was Double Shield. How to configure Double Shield? You would use Orisa and Sigma. And the other characters on your roster could be mixed and match of whoever, it just depended on the 2 tanks you play. How this worked? One of the tanks would put out their shield. When their shield broke, the other tank would put out their shield, and you would keep rotating to keep shield uptime at 100%. Or you could place both at the same time for some crazy mayhem. This, of course, was not a fun comp to play against, and was used all over the Overwatch community, in Publix, Quick Match, Competitive, and even the Overwatch League. These games were not fun to watch, viewership 100% went down, and it wasn't too long before this was patched, but I remember a time when this just ruled the game. Titan. Titan was originally a grand-scale MMO that Blizzard has been working on for years, in the late 2000s to the early 2010s. It was supposed to be a vast, open-world MMO with tons of skill trees and attributes you can equip to your player. But the game was cancelled in development, and a lot of the features were stripped down and added to what made the core game of Overwatch. Some of the characters like Tracer, Widowmaker, and Torbjorn are some of the key characters that you were going to be able to play, although they were under different names, but they have the same abilities. Who knows what Titan could have been? Let me know what you think. Widow brainwashed, kidnapped, and forced to join Talon. This entry is a sad tale that has absolutely no positive to it. Widowmaker was forced to join Talon after being kidnapped and subjected to intense neural reconditioning. This process turned the wife of Overwatch agent Gerard into a brainwashed sleeper agent, who then killed her husband before becoming Talon's most lethal assassin. They experimented on her and slowed down her heart rate, which is the reason her skin is a blue tint, which helps her under high pressure situations stay extremely, extremely calm. Overwatch's first new hero. In the early stages of Overwatch in 2016, pretty early on we heard of a rumor of a new hero joining the game. And Blizzard did a perfect job of leaving breadcrumbs for us to slowly figure out who this hero was over the next coming weeks and months. The first hero being a support sniper, who can both damage and heal with hit scan and projectile shots on enemies and teammates from very, very long ranges. To this day, Ana is one of the most well-equipped characters for any situation and has one of the highest play rates in the game of all time to this day. Level 4. Jayne. Jayne was once an Overwatch content creator, but before that, he was actually a competitive Overwatch League coach, who would lead many of his teams that he coached to the grand finals to win a lot, especially with the Dallas Fuel. After that, Jayne did slip into content creation and became a pretty big creator in the space in the Overwatch community by uploading popular videos and series like Guess My SR and a lot of coaching videos that would help a bunch of new players that were silver, gold, plat, or any rank get better at the game. Jayne stopped uploading in the late 2010s and has gone missing for quite some time. I still haven't heard of him. Has anyone else heard from Jayne? Genji and Hanzo as a character together. Back in the early stages, before Overwatch 1 was released in 2016, during some of the beta and pre-alpha stages of the game, the character Genji and Hanzo were actually supposed to be one character, wielding a sword and also a bow at the same time. But they saw it in their best interest to expand the roster and create two characters, separating the bow and the sword to the respective characters, creating Genji and Hanzo. Pirate Ship Meta. Pirate Ship Meta was a very popular composition to run back in Overwatch 1, which would consist of, on a payload map, putting Bastion on the center of the payload and surrounding him with two shields, which were usually Reinhardt and Sigma, or Reinhardt and Orisa. Now this worked because it was literally a mobile turret that did high amounts of damage, and all you had to do was protect the Bastion, and actually this composition worked and won plenty of games and comps, especially when I was going against it. This was a miserable comp to play against, and that you just had to work around countering the Bastion, but that was hard with multiple shields on him. McCree's name change to Cassidy. McCree's name was changed to Cassidy because of some controversy with one of the developers that the character we know and love was named after. I don't know too much about this, and I don't want to misinform anyone or say anything that's not true, but apparently what I'm hearing online is that the developer was involved in a lot of sexual harassment and hazing within the workplace. So, to cover their tracks, they changed the name from McCree to Cassidy, and I think I like the name Cassidy better anyway. Terry Crews to be casted as Doomfist. Back before the release of Overwatch 1, there was a big rumor that Terry Crews was supposed to be voice acting the character we know, Doomfist, when he was a DPS. This was never actually confirmed, but there was a lot of speculation to it. And man, am I disappointed they didn't cast him as Doomfist, because some crazy voice lines we would have heard to this day. Both memorable and funny. Doors that lead nowhere. On almost every map, there are weird doors that lead absolutely nowhere. These doors don't lead to any spawn rooms or anything, just dead zones. And you could find these across multiple maps in the game. It's weird and eerie. Makes you wonder, what did the developers have in plan for these rooms to begin with? I guess we'll never know. Level 5. Secret Payload Contest Locations. On some of the really fun payload maps, there are a couple of locations that you could stand that are quite next to the payload, but also hidden in a way to where you can actually contest the payload. This can be annoying if you're another team, or hilarious if the perpetrator is actually on your team. Many games have ended and stalled out because of this, and you could do it by using a lot of sitting emotes that are in bushes that are right next to the payload. These lead to some funny situations and outcomes. Heroes Never Die statue. The quote, "Heroes never die," the voice line, is mostly associated with the hero, the support, Mercy. But on the Lijiang Tower map, on one of the control point sectors, you can find hidden in one of the back rooms a statue of an astronaut with a plaque underneath it written in Korean stating "Heroes Never Die." This refers to a Korean man in the real world who stopped a mugging happening from a woman and was killed for it. This guy also was a big fan of Overwatch and a donator to the game. So the Blizzard developers in Overwatch 1 wanted to remember his name with a memoriam with this statue to let you know that heroes like him truly never die. Cassidy Old Noose Spray. There used to be a spray that Cassidy used to be able to put on walls or whatever textures he wanted that depicted a noose, which relates to the character because of his Western themes and ties. But the community took it out of hand by putting baby Winstons on the wall and a noose over its neck. Why? Because this community is questionable sometimes. Not everyone, but some of you. You know who you are, and I know who you are. 3-3-4 comp theory. A lot of the big time creators and top 500 people in the competitive scene claim that there's a theory of the 3-3-4 comp theory, which suggests that 3 out of your 10 games are going to be unwinnable, 3 out of your 10 games are easy wins for you, and 4 of the remaining 10 games are hard-fought games that you need to win to prove your skill. Is this true? I'm not sure. What do you think? Widow remembers everything. There is a dark theory out there that Widowmaker, after being brainwashed and forced to kill her husband Gerard, remembers everything about her past and even knows that she's worked for Talon and doing everything in the wrong. This puts a question to morality for Widowmaker if this is the case. What do you think? Do you truly think Widow remembers everything and knows about the horrors that she has committed? Level 6. Liberate Hong Kong. In 2019 of October, Blizzard had banned an Hearthstone esports player, Blitz Chung, from professional play for 12 months after expressing support for Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement during a post-match interview. It's a move that drawn widespread decision and essentially pits the American game company against the homegrown youth-led movement campaigning pro-democracy against the police brutality in Hong Kong. As part of the player's ban, the player had been kicked out of the Hearthstone Grandmasters Asia Pacific tournament and had his prize money for Season 2 taken away. Blizzard has also cut ties with the 2 casters tasked with conducting Blitzchung's post-match interview, despite the fact that they seemingly attempted to distance themselves from the situation by ducking under a desk. Overwatch competitive teams, expansion teams. During the late stages of the Overwatch competitive scene, when it was at its peak, they had plans of releasing expansion teams, especially ones to places like Chicago. These never came to fruition for whatever reason, and later down the line, the Overwatch League closed down and it turned into the Contender Series. I guess we'll never know why this all happened. Overwatch games are simulated on a green screen. That's right. If you go to the custom games, there's a specific map that you could find called the green screen. Now, it's a very common and widely held theory that all these games are simulated on a green screen. How? I'm not too sure, to be honest. But all the battles you have are claimed to be simulated, AI simulated on a green screen. Final level. Ganymede is God. I say the very best for last, and that is the fact that yes, Ganymede, the bird that rolls around with Bastion, is in fact God. From the Overwatch HQ bombing to the Omnic Crisis, to everything that you thought you knew about this game is because of that one bird. You see, Ganymede has been the puppet master, pulling all the strings of all the heroes in the Overwatch universe from the very beginning. At every turn, and around every corner, it has been the bird all along. And who would suspect a bird, right? Well, it's been the perfect scapegoat for such an evil entity that lives inside that bird that nobody will expect, and likely nobody ever will. Nah, I'm just playing with you. Just a bird. Just a cute little bird. Tweet, tweet. Hangs out with Bastion. Yep. Hey guys. Thank you for taking the time to click on this video. It means a lot to me. The fact that you took time out of your day to explore a channel like mine and even give it a chance if you stayed to the end. So, please, if you enjoy this type of content, please consider liking, sharing to your friends, your family, commenting whether you liked it or not, or subscribing if you feel like I earned your subscription. This video did take a little bit for me to make, but I'm happy I made it in the end. It allowed me to get out of my bubble and explore some of the more creative sides of myself. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed what I would consider an iceberg for casuals in the Overwatch universe. Once again, if you liked, please show some love. I'll be making some more videos just like this very, very soon. And yeah, catch you on the flip. This is Lost with Aaron. Let's get lost together. Bye.